Hi class. For our first assignment, we will create a rendering of the sample utility file. First step is to open up Autodesk Fusion 360. Next step, open up the data panel. You might be in your first project. You will need to click the back arrow up here to navigate back to your main projects. Here you will scroll down to the design samples. Everybody should have this folder. You'll need to make sure you've got your name at the top in your main data panel area to find this design samples folder. If you're inside one of your projects, that is not available. So again, click this back arrow, find design samples folder. In the design samples folder, we will locate the utility knife. To open the utility knife, we will find it and double click. With the utility knife loaded, we can close our data panel to save screen space. In order to create the rendering, we must first save the utility knife as our own. This file is currently locked as read-only because it is a sample file. We first go to the File menu. We want to select Save As from the File menu. We can name the knife anything we'd like, but we must put it in one of our project locations. Pick your own project or create a new project and give this a name. It's utility knife, and then add in your name to make it yours. With the utility knife saved, we can now switch from the model workspace over to the render workspace. The render workspace has tools that go left to right: appearance, scene settings, decals, texture map. Then we have our rendering options. Let's start off with the appearance. We click this color wheel for appearance, and that will open up the appearance library. If you do not see this window, it might be docked off to the side, minimized, somewhere off to the side of your screen. You can look for this appearance library. With this open, you will notice all of the materials assigned in this design. It's important to make this window as large as you can to see all of the materials. You can open up each folder of the material library and find materials that you would like to assign to your model. Here you have a couple of options. If I take a material and drag and drop it into the model, I will notice that as I hover the material in the model, it will highlight different sections, different components. If I let go, it will assign that material to the model. Another option is to take one of these materials and drag it up into the In This Design area. And I can replace any of the existing materials. So here, anything that's yellow, I'm going to drag this green paint onto, and now it will replace that material everywhere it has been assigned. Go ahead and customize the utility knife by adding a few of your own materials. When complete, select the Scene Settings option. This will open up a separate window again. First off, we can adjust the background. You can select a solid color and change this to any color you'd like. Another option is to change the background to an environment. Click on this other tab called Environment Library. You can select any of these existing environments by double-clicking and waiting a moment for those environments to take effect. You may not see the effect right away. Sometimes you need to zoom around to see that yes, indeed, we are in one of these environments. Back in the Settings tab, we still have control over background being set to environment or a solid color. Scrolling down, we have a couple of other options you feel free to adjust. You can turn a ground plane on or off. You can flatten the ground. You can turn on reflections. You can see that reflection show up there in the ground. We can change the focal length of the camera from a wide angle and back again. You can also adjust the exposure value. Settings all similar to a camera. We can also adjust the aspect ratio. A 1:1 square is a great ratio. At this point, it's important to rotate our view and find a compelling view. We wouldn't want the model to be something tiny, like this in the middle of our screen. It will be difficult to present yourself this way. You want to maximize and zoom in as large as you can, using your mouse or your trackpad or the zoom tools. You also want to orbit the utility knife to get a nice, compelling angle view. Once we're happy with this, feel free to adjust other settings if you'd like. A couple of cool ones are the position. You can actually adjust how that background is affecting your scene. Then we click Close. Now for today, we're going to skip the decal. These are things like logos and stickers you can add on to your rendering. Texture map controls allow you to fine-tune things like wood grain and patterns. We'll skip that as well today. We have some different rendering options, and we're going to skip all the way over here to this teapot on the far right. So we see this teapot for render. This will open up the render settings. Image size set to custom is fine. That's set by a pixel size, and we can accept the defaults this time. The aspect ratio will be whatever you set it to in the scene settings. Exposure is fine. Again, it's going to be whatever you set that to in the scene settings. And file format PNG is perfect. Now you have a couple options. You can render with a cloud renderer or a local renderer. We're going to stick with the cloud renderer this time. And the render quality will do final. I'll notice that this gives me a render queue time, how long it's going to wait in the render queue. Often this is 20 minutes. It can be a bit longer if there are a lot of students using the renderer at that time. And this shows me it's going to take 1 cloud credit to do this. Now I'll click the blue render button. And at this point, I simply wait. It's going to tell me that the cloud rendering has started. And down here in the corner, I'm going to get a preview thumbnail of that rendering. And I will wait until that thumbnail appears. Once the rendering has completed its queue time, which is essentially waiting in line till my turn to render, you will notice that you get a progress bar when the image is actually rendering. That progress bar will go to the end, and when it's done, we know that this rendering is then complete. Once complete, we can click on this thumbnail, and that will open up the final image. We can see we now have a nice rendered image of the utility knife. At this point, we want to download the file, so we click the download button. You can choose the file type. For class, PNG is fine, so we select download image as PNG. Now we can save this where we'd like it to go. Simply pick a memorable location on your computer. I'm going to select the desktop. The file name is important. In our class, we always want to use our first and last name, and then the title of the assignment. So something like this, first name, last name, and then utility knife. We'll save that out, and now we need to go to our Blackboard class site. Here in Blackboard, I'm in the main class site. It's the IND 598 or IND 494. We want to select our content, then navigate to week 1. And here we'll find the Week 1 Wednesday assignment. Create a rendering of the sample utility knife. Here we will see the due date, the points possible. We can add some text. This can simply say utility knife rendering. And now we need to attach that rendering. We will click Attach Files, browse my computer, go to the desktop, find our name, utility knife, PNG, open that file, and this will attach that file as my submittal. We can add any comments if you have any, and then click Submit. By clicking Submit, you've submitted the assignments. It will have the attachment, which I can then grade for this assignment. Thank you.